Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Trolls World Tour. This is the brand new 2020 animated feature film sequel to 2016's Trolls, starring Anna Kendrick, Justin Timberlake, James Corden, Kelly Clarkson is in this. Rachel Bloom, I think, plays Queen Barb. I think that's who voices Queen Barb in this. There's no Bergens in this. I mean, for a brief moment in time, but not like a Bergen story. This is like a troll story. So it turns out that there were 6 strings back in the day, and that each form of music was represented by the 6 strings. So the rock leader wanted to separate the strings, so like they all got their own strings. It was a weird plot, I give it that. And Queen Barb, now who rules rock, wants all of the 6 strings to rule all of music. So she's going on a world tour to collect all the strings from all the different musics: country, techno, classical, pop, etc. And when Poppy hears this, she wants to counter and bring everyone together instead of tear everyone apart. Right? Noble. As the story progresses and Poppy escapes, her village with her friends, and Branch goes with her as well. It turns out that the pop troll, the original pop troll, is the one who took the strings apart and wanted the string for himself instead of the rock one. So the story was twisted, and Poppy is now humiliated and in disbelief that how dare her pop father, do these terrible things. And that's not what she represents. She represents unity, not division. So it's a matter of getting everybody together and, being happy at the end, which eventually gets there. So that's the movie. You got same thing, cover of songs. Yeah, you got Ozzy Osbourne playing Barb's dad at one point. That was funny. I'm not a big fan of the Trolls films. I think they're strange. I don't know what else to say to it. It's just very over the top cute, and I don't know. It just weirds me out sometimes. So the main focal point of this review is the legacy that this film has, and it's only been out for a couple months. This movie was supposed to premiere April, I want to say, 2020. April and May 2020, and it couldn't because of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic that has shut down the world. The rest of the world seems to understand, wear a mask, social distance, that kind of stuff, but America is dumb, and we can't do that because we are self-entitled pricks. That's the best way to say it. Okay, so Universal decided to release this straight to video on demand. You could rent it for $20, video on demand. I want to say the end of March, beginning of April. Had to be like the beginning of April, because I'm trying to get my timeline right. March 13th was when my family and I were in Disneyland in California, because it closed the 14th, and then we were at a mad scramble to figure out how the hell to get home because flights were starting to get canceled as well. So mid-March is when the world stopped. Okay. And all of the spring and summer releases were postponed or video on demand rented wise, which made sense because you're home, because you're supposed to be home, because you're supposed to be quarantining and isolating from the outside world to not catch your virus or spread it if you have it, etc. Not a hard concept, but my thing just shook. I apologize. Okay, we're good. So with the release, because kids also didn't have school, so they were at home learning, so the parents needed something to do with the kids. So Universal said, listen, let's just put this straight onto demand, pay $20. You can rent it for the 3 or 4 days or something like that, and that's that. This movie made so much money by video on demand. It actually changed the landscape of how future films are going to be distributed. You heard that correct, folks. Trolls World Tour. The animated sequel film to 2016's Universal's Trolls changes the landscape of how cinema is received. Incredible. I would have never, ever, ever have put money on a bet if someone told me 10 years ago, hey, this is what's going to happen. I said, you're smoking crack and you got to stop. That's how that conversation would have went. Flat out. No joke. Universal is going to be releasing a lot more films, video on demand. A lot of other major companies are doing video on demand for renting and stuff like that. or early access, as they keep calling it. And a lot of the theater chains like AMC and Regal are not happy about it. But in retrospect, a avid movie person, right? I always talk about movies. I would always go to the movies. I am not comfortable sitting in a theater with closed everything, right? With air being pumped in, with people who may or may not have something, right? Who are eating, because you can still eat your concession foods. So it defeats the purpose of a social distant environment when your particles are still coming out of your mouth when you're breathing, putting food in, putting a drink in, putting candy in, stuff like that, right? So I think it's a weird thing, unless they like, I don't know. I'm not going to the movie theaters for quite some time, to be completely honest. Unless I feel extremely adventurous one day after work, sure. After this new job, sure. We'll see. But I just think it's interesting that Trolls actually changed the framework of how we watch movies. And that is the point of this review. Not the fact that it's a weird movie, but because it's a entertaining fact that this is changing history. That's how it is. I did watch this with my family. We did get it on Vudu. It was a nice family night. We had Trolls Oreos, which were amazing, by the way. It had Pop Rock, like green Pop Rocks in it. Great. So that was a fun memory I had with all of them, but it's a weird movie. Yeah, okay. We're done. Trolls World Tour. Go watch it if you haven't, because you need to. This is history. Fact. Mucho mahalo.